Your Majesty at your service. Welcome to Fair Queen Talks. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of my podcast. I am the one. Many years ago, I went to a business/motivational workshop that truly was inspiring. The spokesperson described a very tough childhood due to delays in speech development and shared how they overcame that and so many things that had impacted their lineage up to that point. Something she said was something around, I am the one, referencing herself as the person in the lineage that had changed the course for generations that would come after her. I am the one. A simple yet powerful line got me thinking, and now I'm ready to talk about it. If you enjoyed a previous episode that I made in this season around legacy, when I spoke to Shani Gabardin, the architect and creative manager of Ayuvo Skincare, it really spoke to the power of being one that changes everything for your family. Being the one is all about legacy and being the person in your lineage that makes positive changes that impact generations ahead. In this episode, I want to talk about being the one that changes things for your lineage and the world around you. I want to speak to those of you who feel the weight of what often can be described as generational trauma and hopefully give you some tools to take away that feeling of burden and lean to generational strengths. A friend of mine recently shared a quote that perfectly suits this episode, which I want to share with you. The quote goes as follows. As you focus on clearing your generational trauma, do not forget to claim your generational strengths. Your ancestors gave you more than just your wounds. I don't know about you, but this is so powerful and inspirational to me. The sentence that said, your ancestors have given you more than just your wounds was life-changing. So what is this more? And this is something that I want to explore today. So everyone has their own lineage, and generational strengths are very much individual and depending on your heritage. Nevertheless, there are some things that apply to every single person who's living on this earth today. So I'm going to describe 3 things that links us all together. So number 1, your lineage has made it to 2023 and overcome everything that has happened in world history, which means that you can and will overcome anything that is thrown in your way. Whilst you may not know the detail of what they've gone through, the little that we know of, world history is enough for us to come to a conclusion that they have survived societies and rulers that were not easy. They have experienced social injustice in their public and private lives. That did not stop them from having hope in future generations, which ultimately is you. The product, the joy that was brought into the world despite the pain. With this comes things like resilience, which we can all build throughout time. In every film that I ever watched around alien invasions or just takeover by other beings, the thing that stands out is the hope of humanity, the hope we carry in the future of our species. And this is something that we sometimes can lose sight of. So let's see the hope and be the hope of our ancestors. Number 2, another important thing we gain from looking back at how our ancestors cope with adversity is a healthy dose of perspective. We can see that throughout history, even the toughest times that seemed like they would never end did pass eventually. And while this crisis has exposed our vulnerability and showed us how fragile our bodies and minds can be, we can also see, both today and in the stories of our ancestors, how invincible the human spirit can be. So let's take this opportunity to connect to our ancestors' strength and let it be our inspiration as we wait For this and many things that are happening in this world too shall pass. And number 3, there have always been people on the right side of history. Let us not forget, for every evil that has been done, there were good people fighting against it. And it was their selflessness and sacrifice that has stood the test of time. And we learn from the past and celebrate all those that made the world a better place. Someone, somewhere down your lineage has been that person. And if not, or if you don't know, you can be that person today. There are generational strengths in terms of our lineage, but also generational strength in terms of being part of the living generations and its grouping based on the years that you were born. Workplaces gather this information to understand the dynamics that different workers bring to the work environment. With more workplaces in the world trying to do their best to be inclusive and sustainable and have really good environments, their findings are worthy of reading as it demonstrates the generational strengths that every generation has. So as I read these out for you, you'll be able to figure out what your generation has been categorized as and perhaps see how this reflects in your own life. So the first step in recognizing generational diversity is identifying the different generations of your team. So here's a quick rundown. So baby boomers were born between 1946 and 1964. They value hard work, very loyal, and have a lot of respect. Gen Xers were born in 1965 and 1980, so in between those years. And they are categorized as being very independent and value innovation and flexibility. Millennials were born between 1981 and the year 2000. And these are very tech savvy and value collaboration and mentorship. And the Zs, or Generation Z, were born after 2001, are, according to Dr. Laurie Moore Merrill, early adopters, brand influencers, and social media drivers. So hopefully you know which year you're born into, and I will now share with you what generational strengths each of the generations bring to the table in the workplace, but generally in the world. So baby boomers are the most experienced, so their skills and expertise should be valued and utilized. We are inundated with information, so what we need is knowledge how to use it. Gen Xers offer an independent spirit and willingness to take risks and innovate. Millennials are not limited to technology or community engagement alone. They have proven capable and effective managing emergencies, leading their teams and making informed strategic decisions. And lastly, Generation Z bring tech savviness and a collaborative spirit to the table, which is critical to growth in the future. As you look at your own life and wanting to be the positive difference in your lineage, and seeing yourself as the one is key to identify what are the generational traumas in your family. Process them and heal from them so that you become and are in a position to stop it from impacting your life negatively and those that will come after you, which will lead you in looking at what you want to start and what are the strengths that you have that you want to pass down and focus on doing this in a very sustainable way. Something that I love are words of affirmations. And as I say the next sentences, please say them after me. This stops with me. In my lifetime, things will turn around. I am the one. While it is inspiring to look at generational strengths, I do not by any shape am suggesting or minimizing the impact of generational trauma. But what I am saying is that we can tap into the strengths and when we do tap into strengths of our generational strength, we have a more balanced way of carrying the invisible loads of pain. We will have joy, resilience, strength, and so many characteristics that are worth celebrating and utilizing. We are more than our pain. We are the hope of those who've gone before us. You are the one that will make things better in your life. You are the one that can decide that enough is enough. You can start doing the things that could have been put in place for you. Each generation learns from their past and can make things better for the next generation. You are in a position and willing to be the one that turns things around for the positive. So remember, you are the one. I am the one. At the end of each episode, I address the queendom. Things stay the same until one person decides to be the difference. You are the one that can bring forth the hope and positivity that is needed in the world. Be the one that brings changes in your life. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of my podcast, Fair Queen Talks. See you next time.